Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is Honor turn 31. Let's take a look at our messages. We searched for some magic sites, didn't find any. We took control back of Delka with no resistance, so the enemy moved on. I kind of expected they would do this. Battle in Ostermark, we lost 2 of our cataphracts, a healer archer, and 2 healer warriors against fairly heavy province defense. 60 individuals. This is like... I think this is 15 or 20 points. So, fairly significant. Let's watch this battle real quick just to see how things worked. Of course, our cavalry went charging in first. Our mages are casting some basic buff spells. Aristotle is buffing himself up. The infantry are still holding back while the buffs go off. The cavalry was set on attack rear. They got hung up on the infantry here, which is, I think, why they took some casualties. And then Aristotle goes in behind the infantry, gets through them. Now, Aristotle is actually probably the least well-equipped of my frontline tyrants. He's got a sword of the 5 elements and a main gouge of parrying. Unfortunately, that means he only has 6 reinvigoration, while with his berserker, he is going to take... I believe he's taking 7 fatigue, because he has 3 encumbrance, and then he's taking an extra 4 from berserk. So he will actually fatigue out if he is continuously in combat, which is not normally what I want to see. He will, however, anytime he's not able to be fighting, he will... Let me pause so I can catch him. He will reinvigorate, so he's back down to fatigue 12. Over here, my cavalry are cleaning up the enemy archers. My infantry rushes in. Lightning bolt finishes off the commander, and that's it. We also took back, so that was Ostmark. We also took Giffa. So this was my army, my big communion army, marching into enemy territory. And very, very little province defense here. So you can see my big army set out like this. I have my oppressors dangerously forward, ready to spam fire elementals. I've got all my communion slaves and everything up. They cast their first round buffs, so now my slaves are iron-skinned, they're air-shielded, and they are reinvigorating. And since there's so little by way of resistance here, my mages are not using their gems. Instead, they're throwing Legions of Steel and Strength of Giants on the troops, which is fine. It would be more fine if they weren't throwing Strength of Giants on the archers. This is the problem with having troops in lines. Mages don't like buffing lines. They like buffing blocks. So your archers are in a block and your infantry are in a line. The archers are probably getting the buff. I'm not sure what that blue effect is there. Phantasmal Warrior, maybe? In any case, the fight is already over. My archers routed the minor enemy province defense, and then I started dropping a few Thunderstrikes, just for good measure. So, that was all fine. There was a battle in a block. This is where the enemy army, with the 6 Bakemono sorcerers and the Uba, charged in to fight my province defense. They're moving deeper into my territory. And they're off script immediately. I'm sure she is scripted to cast Howl round 1. Excuse me, but they are not casting it now because, of course, there is very little by way of resistance. One of them is still casting Horde of Skeletons, which they love casting Horde of Skeletons. So the Obakemono go in, lots of arrows flying around. I think they killed one of their own Obakemono with friendly fire at some point here. Yeah. Yeah, they killed one Obakemono, so they're slowly taking attrition. They aren't losing any gems. Unexpected events, got some units cursed in Jintmark. Some misfortune in Dunster, which doesn't really matter. And also in Jintmark, I got some free gems, which is really, really nice. Luck +1 worldwide. And the god of Arcocephale has been permanently vanquished. I also lost my scouts in the Royal Green to the AI Nazca. So, this is an interesting situation. This army is big and bad and has 270 siege strength. That being so, it is going to trample over Shinuyama's capital, and it is moving to attack Shinuyama's capital. Now, how well it does exactly largely depends on how many Bakemono sorcerers there are, because a Bakemono sorcerers casting Horde of Skeletons and an Uba casting Howl could block up the entrance to a fort for a very, very long time with masses of chaff. Just wolves and skeletons just blocking up the entrance to a fort, making it impossible to move through. In order to get through that, you need to kill very, very quickly indeed. or you need ethereal units. Now, fire elementals, it just so happens, are ethereal units, and of course air elementals are flying units. So the elementals somewhat obviate this problem. Tyrants also somewhat obviate this problem by means of killing units faster than they can spawn if they're properly fire shielded. So, this army is moving onto Shinuyama's capital. The fortification here only has 250 wall integrity. I have 270 siege strength, plus I am moving Genocidicles and Slab Brickjaw to support. Genocidicles, of course, has almost 7 siege strength himself, and he's bringing 4 Gigantes with about 6 siege strength each. So these 5 units are about 30, and Slab Brickjaw contributes another 7. So 300 siege strength or so all told. Obakemono contribute pretty significant siege defense. In fact, let's watch a battle real quick to see how much. Let's look at Ublok. So, he has Daibakemonos there. They have 1.3 siege defense. And he has Obakemonos, and they have 0.9 siege defense because they are undisciplined. So, 60 units approximately. Probably about that in siege defense. So overall, about 60 siege defense or so, 250 wall integrity. He can hold me off for 1 turn. The second turn, I would break the walls, and the third turn, I would be able to assault Shinuyama itself. And if this army plus 2 more tyrants attacks this army, I'm quite confident they will win. This army, it's in my territory, and it's being a nuisance in that it's depriving me of some income periodically. But it can't stop, because it has this army directly behind it, and this is not the biggest and most powerful of my armies, but it does have 2 tyrants, it has significant troops, and it has a couple of air elemental summoners. And he must know, or at least guess, that he can't fight me effectively. So this army I anticipate is going to keep moving. There's a couple of things it could do. Could move down here, which is a high income province, to try and deprive me of income. Could move up here, although that would kind of trap it. That would be a bid to try and get back around me in order to get back out into Shinuyama. It could move over here to besiege this fortress. That would be low risk. This fortress does have defenders, but it doesn't have much by way of power assembled here. It is wall integrity 500, and with 47 siege defense, so this army will not be able to break this fort down anytime soon. Or they could move to my capital. And moving to my capital would shut the capital down for 1 turn, and the capital does not have many troops. So that kind of seems like an appealing option. Now, this army can reach the capital. And Electos can reach the capital. Electos is ungeared, but he has 90 units. So actually, if he has 14 move and can reach the capital, then so can all these guys. They can also reach the capital. So given that, it's interesting because I imagine that Great Grey Shrike will notice that. But I'm not sure what his other move is. I mean, maybe going up here to try and dodge back around, but at best, he's accomplishing nothing by doing that. At best. I don't actually need to be recruiting troops in this fort right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bother beefing up the defenses over here at all. This says I get some free chaff by going there. This army I don't want to split up, so the 2 choices are either I move here to retake this province with this army, or I move to the capital in order to defend the capital against a potential strike. He may not realize that Electos can reach the capital from over here. Because with 14 move, really with 14 move? Yeah, I guess he can. He only has to go through 2 provinces. Of course, he might just straight double back. He might double back onto Delca, guessing that I am going to move out. That would be a completely viable option. I've put more province defense in, so he would once again take a little bit of attrition moving out. But if he were to move back to Delca, then he could move up to try and reinforce Shinuyama. Yeah, actually, he can't really do damage, so I'm just going to have these guys patrol for now. And I'll have these guys move over here. I won't have them move and patrol, I'll just have them move. My research is still healthy. I will hit Conjuration level 5 next turn, at which point I change all my scripts here from summoning lesser elementals to summoning real elementals, and shit starts getting really real. But for now, yeah, for now let's just patrol. And we have Astarius. Astarius is going to Earthskin, Iron Power, and go into combat. We also have Hippolytus. And where's Hippolytus? Hippolytus is doing the same thing, just a little further down. So Hippolytus, Astarius. Slab Brickjaw has no dudes, and Genocidicles does. So Genocidicles, can you... right, Genocidicles has to leave his Gigantes behind. So give Astarius 2 of your men, and give Hippolytus 2 of your men. Great. So Slab Brickjaw and Genocidicles can both hit there next turn. Astarius and Hippolytus will lead the patrolling forces defending Delca in case the enemy doubles back. Alectos will move over here. He's not actually going to patrol. He's just going to move. He's going to get into the fort and contribute a whole bunch more siege defense, because his siege defense is over 3, and his Gigante's siege defense is 3, and, you know, and he has 80 troops, all of whom have a siege defense of 0.5. If he were to patrol, it could potentially work. I would need to contribute quite a lot to that, and I'm not sure I want to. I could give this assassin a Just Man's Cross. It only has the triple effect on demons, though. I do want to give this assassin that I got some cool item, or cool items, but I'm not quite sure what just yet, so still thinking about that. Over here, I'm moving forces into position to take the Step of Wild Horses. Pronos has been given the Ring of Regeneration, so he regenerates and he has a lower chance to get permanent afflictions. He's still wearing the Shroud, so he's still recuperating. He's still diseased and he's still lost an arm, and he's down to 21 hit points. I've given him a Frostbrand, and I'm forging some more gear. I'm forging a bunch more gear, actually. I'm forging a Girdle of Might, I'm forging an Owl Quill, that's not gear. I'm forging a Mace of Eruption. I want to also forge... I would like to also forge a helmet of some kind. I don't have the gems for it, so it would have to be a water helmet. I would have to forge ice helmets, which are fine. I mean, they provide protection, and I just need to use gems to provide protection of some kind. So Pronos is going to lead troops to attack the Step of Wild Horses with his Ironskin Summon Earth Power Fire Shield script. He should be able to handle it, and with all these troops. I'll be sending in a whole bunch of crap, and I will overwhelm them with numbers. They do have the wizards there, which are a little bit worrisome, but with the Frostbrand and his general protection and beefiness, Pronos should be able to handle it. Alectos, I don't have geared yet. I'm going to have to gear him once he gets here. I'm going to give him the Mace of Eruption and the Girdle of Might. And I think I'll also forge another ice helmet, so he'll have an ice helmet, which will be nice. At least he'll have some head protection. I just don't want him suffering critical hits to the head before his Iron Skin activates, really. Yeah, and the Girdle of Might will give him enough reinvigoration. Actually, instead of an ice helmet, are there any water shields? Only the Ice Aegis. Yeah, that's not useful. That's not important. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't need it. The Flask of Holy Water can bless sacred units, but unfortunately only priests are sacred. So, and these guys are too slow to reach the capital, otherwise I'd be doing that with them. I'm recruiting slaves down here, shackled mages again, instead of, because I have 4 Trophimos oppressors, and 4 oppressors leading a communion is enough 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 slaves. I'll recruit up to 16 and then probably another couple oppressors. Up here, I'm still recruiting shackled mages as well because I don't have enough. I only have 4. And I need at least 8 before I'm comfortable leaving the defense of this fort in a communion's charge. Searching for magic sites there, sneaking around, moving my revenants around to search for magic sites, getting troops ready. These troops. None of my shackled mages, of course, have any command because they are slaves. Antiphates has command, but he is standing here researching, and I'm not going to lower my research further just to move these troops around, so we're just going to keep recruiting troops for a little bit here in Marignan, and we will build up. HULK SMASH is forging an enormous cauldron of broth because I promised that I would do that in exchange for the nature gems I received. I have temporarily forgotten who it was that I promised it to. Oh, Ashdod. I promised Ashdod an enormous cauldron of broth, and they sent me nature gems, so I'm going to forge it and send it to them. Pyrrhus is moving over here to help set up for the attack. We're going to start sending some scouts down this way. It looks like Uruk is recruiting Enkidu shamans in this swamp, or possibly, no, he must be moving them around in order to search the swamp for magic sites, so that's fine. Uruk seems very thin and spread out and generally vulnerable, so that might be an interesting thing to keep in mind for later. Up here, the situation in my territory is like, it doesn't really matter all that much. I'm going to kick up province defense in case he moves to one of these provinces, and I'm hoping that if I kick up province defense high enough, he'll end up spending gems. That would be ideal from my perspective, because running short of gems will run him out of power faster than anything else. I also have Fanon patrolling. That's fine, actually. I think a force of this size would also spark gem use. And losing 67 helots in order to run this force short of gems would be okay by me. The helots are not, of course, my primary defensive force in any case. What I might do, however... Thinking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could move these mages out to here. Well, they can't cross the river anyway. Yeah, never mind, that wouldn't work. I was thinking if I could move them out to here, then if he attacked this place, I could attack them with a communion. But it wouldn't work, because there's a river. So that's fine. I could be recruiting horticulturalists here, I suppose. They're technically cheaper than the shackled mages for 1 extra point of research, and stealthy and have leadership, but they're not communion slaves. Although, I suppose, maybe once I fill myself out with communion slaves, I'll start recruiting them. Having some stealthy Nature 1 mages to tromp around is never really a bad thing. But anyway, the situation down here, pretty much under control. You know, this army will move around, it'll do stuff, but it won't be terribly impressive stuff, and it won't be terribly dangerous. I can send, if I want to, I can afford to send just some random garbage that direction. Let's stop recruiting these guys real quick. Recruit here instead. Yeah, just recruit a bunch of Helot warriors. And let's give Boniface... not the archers. Let's give him some of the less important troops. Let's give Boniface these guys. And he will go take this province back. If they don't move, he's going to splat against their army. But, oh well, it's not much of a sacrifice. It's almost nothing of a sacrifice. And if they do move, it means I can take the province back immediately unless they spend a bunch of money on province defense for it, which I doubt they will. It would be a little bit silly of them. And if they put in like 5 points of province defense, I think 2 Cyclops warriors and 14 Helot warriors can actually take it. If they can't, if they bounce off, oh well. Worse things have happened. Up here, however, is the interesting one, because he's got a significant army over here, but I don't know how many sorcerers it has in it. This province up here has some number of sorcerers. His capital, Shinuyama, has some number of sorcerers. And this province has some number of sorcerers. Altogether, he probably has a bunch of sorcerers. But he's got 6 sorcerers trapped here, and the fact that he only reinforced this army with 1 sorcerer seems to tell me that he doesn't have many left. I know he lost at least 1 attacking attacking Nazca. His sorcerers are slow to recruit, and he's been spending a lot of recruitment turns on Ubas, because Ubas are his main research mage. So like Daibakemonos, Obakemonos, and Ubas out of 160 enemy units. Daibakemonos, Obakemonos, and Ubas, Bakemono shows, and Ubas. I think he's got like 20 Ubas up here. He's got a bunch of Ubas in here. He's also has to have a bunch of Ubas in here. So that being so, Bakemono sorcerer-wise, this probably represents a very significant fraction of his total sorcerer population. So basically, in order to stop this army reinforced with 2 more tyrants, he's going to need a lot of backup in Shinuyama, which makes me think he may pull this army over here, where it can reach Shinuyama. So I'm actually going to be a little... Now, this army is too small and too weak to fight this army. Particularly because Aristotle is not entirely fatigue neutral. If he gets hit with the Howl Spam combo, he is 100% dead. I think even his fire shield wouldn't necessarily save him. I mean, the fire shield would help him burn through them quickly, but if he was set further back, it might. But that means he only goes into combat once the rest of the army is pretty much already dead. Well, it might be worth trying. I don't want to lose Aristotle, but on the other hand, his legendary command of the undead isn't actually terribly relevant. Tough call. Tough call. Wait, why does he only... Oh yeah, because that's the Lodestone Amulet, that's right. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. I'm going to move here, because... here's the gamble. The gamble is, either this army is going to split up, or it's going to move over here to try and help Shinuyama. If it splits up, I think I can take half of this army. If he only has like 1 or 2 sorcerers spamming, I think I can take it. Aristotle would be the only person left on the field, but I think it could manage. With numbness and orb lightning support. That would help. If he moves to take this province, retake this province, which he may well, then I can dodge him by moving over here. Only if he takes most of this army and moves it here defensively will I actually be caught and killed. And that's a risk, but it's a... I mean, if I wanted to be completely safe, I would move back to Dunster and just let him do whatever he did up here. But that wouldn't really solve my problem. That would only corner me further. So I kind of feel like I need to make a bold move. The other option is to move straight into him, and that's gambling that he will do anything except move towards me. However, it's the move that he pulled right here, and I'm worried that he would expect it. So I'm going to come over here instead. If I'm here, I'm home free. From this province, I can move to this province before he can move anything to intercept me. Or I can attack this province, or I can besiege his fort, or I can dodge back to Ostmark. So I'm not worried about that. By putting Electos here in Phlegra, I will guarantee that I can break the siege. I'm going to recruit a second tyrant, and he doesn't have anything that can actually kill tyrants quickly, so the fact that the tyrants won't have a lot of gear won't matter quite so much. Because they can Iron Skin, Fire Shield, Earth Power, and go, and as long as they have Reinvigoration gear, they'll be fine. In order to make sure that I have Reinvigoration gear, I'm going to turn my pearls into Nature Gems, and I am going to forge another pair of Boots of the Messenger. So I'll have Boots of the Messenger, I've got a Girdle of Might, so each of them will have at least a set of Reinvigoration, a Reinvigoration item. And that will keep them Reinvigoration neutral while they're Berserk. And so they'll be able to go with the Fire Shield forever while slowly stabbing people to death. So if he tries to pull the Spam Howl thing, the 2 tyrants here will be able to counteract it. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think these guys are going to patrol primarily. Now, let me make sure that doesn't mess up my communion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, still fine. 9 slaves will still work. I have to be paranoid about those communions, because messing up communion by accident just destroys you. If your communion is wrong, even very, very slightly, you're doomed. Next turn, like I said, I'll hit Conjuration level 5. After that, I'll probably go down Alteration, because Alteration 5 gives me Maws of the Earth, and Wooden Warriors, and Mother Oak. Now, my Nature Gem income is way too small to actually be in competition for Mother Oak, but a man can hope. A man can hope and dream, alright? Like, come on now. Even with 2 nature gems per month, a man can dream. And so, we'll keep rolling that way. I need to site search this province as well, but I need to forge that Cauldron of Broth first, just out of curiosity. Can you reach that province in 1 turn? You can. You can. Okay, so forge the enormous Cauldron of Broth, then you can join the attack on Steppe of Wild Horses, which will also let Pronos regenerate all his health back, which will be fantastic. So he can regenerate, and hopefully he'll grow his arm back at some point here, and hopefully he will lose his disease, because it is really messing up my stees here. So that's going to be turn 31. We're moving to suppress the damage that the army in Ablak can do. If he goes over here, that's fine. Like, it will remove one of my 2 nature gems per turn, which is a huge bummer, but he doesn't really have anywhere to go from there. I guess he could go through this neutral province, but that neutral province is pretty heavily defended. He would take casualties. Like, casualties. While we're on the subject, I can recruit a few dudes over here, just because, just to have them. And I will also be laying siege to Shinoyama in a serious way, as opposed to the raiding way that I did before. And that will be interesting. If I can take Shinoyama, he instantly loses a huge fraction of his power. He doesn't have much by way. He doesn't have cap-only units. I don't think Shinoyama has any cap-only units. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have any capital-only units. He does have these Shuten Doji, and Shuten Doji actually are pretty scary. To me specifically, because Shuten Doji with their sleep aura could potentially make my tyrants just up and fall asleep. Now, if they get with their fire shield, they will continue to murder people even if they are asleep, but still, Shuten Doji, a little bit scary. Little bit scary. Beyond that, however, he doesn't have anything that scares my tyrants. The Bakemono Sorcerers, if he has the right research, could try and pull out an instant kill spell of some kind, but I really strongly doubt he has any instant kill spells. Research-wise, what I know he's had is, not Alteration. I know he's had Conjuration level 5, and Conjuration level 5 in combat really only gives you Howl and Ghost Grip. Ghost Grip is one way that he could deal with the tyrants, potentially, because he could knock them out, and then when they wake up, they would rout because they're no longer berserk. Conjuration level 6 doesn't give him anything that would help him. I mean, summons, but out-of-battle summons. He also had Enchantment 5, which gives him Horde of Skeletons. It also does give him Foul Vapors. Now, this is a spell that could definitely help him if he can cast it. It requires Nature 3 and Water 1. So, 1 second. I just kind of had a thought. Yes, his Ubas can cast Foul Vapors. So that's a little bit problematic, but to be honest, it doesn't hurt me very much because my tyrants are minorly poison resistant. It won't stop damage from Foul Vapors, but it will limit damage from Foul Vapors. That said, I have to keep that in mind, because that is definitely a fort defense tactic. Definitely a good fort defense tactic. I am so glad that I thought of that. Where is poison resistance? Poison Ward. It takes nature gems. Serpent's Blessing. Relief. Okay, I have Poison Ward already, so what I need to do is I need to give you nature gems. I actually need to alchemize more nature gems real quick. I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to turn some death gems into a couple of nature gems. This is just in case. Yeah, Urban, you move up there. Okay. I'm really, really glad I checked that, because losing a second battle because I failed to account for a spell that my enemy can cast would have been embarrassing. Slave-wise, let me see how that changes things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. Okay. So if I pull any of these guys out of the communion, I lose one of my level boosts. So I drop from level 5 to level 4. That is still tolerable. I can still handle that. So what I'll do is I'll pull probably 2 of them. What's the fatigue on Poison Ward? 100. But it only costs nature 2, so there'll be nature 4. So it'll actually be 25. Okay, that's fine. I can work with that. I'll pull 2 of them, and I'll cast Poison Ward twice each in the first round. And I believe Poison Ward has been buffed. I believe Poison Ward is actually Poison Resistance 10 now. So that should make me mostly immune. The other option is to try and cast Regeneration on the Gigantes. And having the Gigantes regenerating on top of everything else would make them very, very serious. Now, of course, my Prophet is actually getting a hit point penalty because he's out of my dominion, which is an issue, and one that I had not really thought about in the way that I should have, but we'll deal with it as it comes. So, yeah. Good. Poison Ward. I have a countermeasure available. It'll be fine. No worries. What I might even do is pull 4 of them out. Have them all Communion Master. I don't know if you can cast Communion Master and Communion Slave. Because if you can, then what I would do is pull 4 of them out, cast Communion Master, have them all Poison Ward on one round, and then have them all cast Communion Slave again. But I don't know if that's possible. Probably it isn't. I'll look into that. I'm not going to do my scripting for that now. I'll look into that. I'll see if that's possible. But yeah, that's going to be the turn. And I will see you all in the next episode. Who am I? Oh, right. I'm bouncing a scout off him. And I need that scout set to retreat. And standing at the back. Great. Okay. See y'all on turn 32. Alright, on our turn 32. Lots and lots of interesting things have happened at this turn. I'm actually not going to talk about the things that are happening with me this turn first. First, let's look at our messages. I got 8 nature gems from Agartha. I sent them 8 death gems in swap. I hit conjuration level 5, which is fantastic. I searched for magic sites, but none was found. There was a battle in Phlegra, so he decided to move on Phlegra itself. He hit my province defense, wiped it out, lost 5 Obakemono, and more importantly, proved that 25 province defense is enough to trigger gem use. I had enough units here that he used gems. Specifically, he used gems casting Howl. So that's 3 of his nature gems gone. He only has 2 more casts, unless he can replenish his gems, which he might be able to do with a stealthy Bakemono chief, but I'm going to strive to prevent that. Through patrols, if nothing else. He probably does have a sneaky Bakemono lurking around to give himself more gems. In any case, he did lose 5 of his Obakemono, so I am whittling him down slowly. And otherwise, he just ran over my province defense. I mean, I knew he was gonna. He can still produce prodigious amounts of Skele spam, but looking at it, I think 3 or 4 tyrants and or several fire elementals can burn through these guys. I think it can be done. So, like I said, we took out 20% of his Obakemonos. We're just whittling him down little by little. The Daibakemonos are still an issue, but we can handle it. So, I am under siege in Phlegra at the moment. I took control of Shinuyama and found no resistance. We did burn down a temple. There was a battle in Ostmark. This was my army, the province that I moved out of. He sent 4 Bakemono sorcerers and Uba, 100 Daibakemonos, and 12 Obakemonos to attack me. So this army is actually more dangerous, I would say, than the army that's currently in my territory, just because of greater quantity of Obakemonos, which are very good units. He's set up not for Skele spam with this army. He's actually set up for elemental spam. So he's got this guy is carrying a bunch of fire gems that has 3 fire. This guy is carrying a bunch of earth gems and has 3 earth. This guy is set to retreat, interestingly, and has 2 across the board and no gems whatsoever. And this guy has 3 earth and is carrying earth gems. He also has a Howl Uba, but I didn't have enough troops here to trigger gem usage, so no gems were actually spent, which is fine. I got to know what it is that he has here. So this is a fairly scary army, and it's an army that I can't handle with the troops that I have. Lots more battles. Here's the interesting one. There was a battle in Urmor. Urmor, who has been under siege, sallied to attack Agartha. And this is actually kind of a hilarious chain of events that I'll talk about. So Urmor they've got a bunch of squadrons of skeletons in the back. They've got 1 Archbishop of Eldragate. They've got a big line of skeletons up front, and they have 3 mixed squadrons of Sacreds, Knights of the Unholy Sepulchre, and Lictors. On the other side, Agartha has a huge pile of magma children in the front. He has a big stack of statues on the right flank with some Defenders of the Halls behind them. In the middle, he's got a huge pile of Golem Crafters and a couple Earth Readers with some more mixed infantry. And over on his left flank, he's got a big gang of what he refers to as Slow Boys, his Shard Guard, his Sacreds, which are actually very powerful. He also has Rockbreaker, the Oracle of the Ancients, with a bunch of Earth Gems, and Rockbreaker is standing in front of the Sacreds, which is unfortunate positioning, and you'll see why. I think you can probably see why this is bad positioning. So the Knights come in, and boom. Yeah. One-shotted by a lance charge because of the whole quickness magical weapons thing. So the Oracle of the Dead is dead. He did get off his Divine Blessing on the Shard Guard, so there's that. And his Golem Crafters are dropping Purifying Water, which is his Banish spell, in just massive, enormous, huge quantities. Like, he's just doing damage to every undead creature that it touches. The Sacreds over here have charged into the Sentinels, and they are not hitting hard enough to kill the Sentinels. They just don't do enough damage. Over here, the Lictors are engaging the Shard Guard and having kind of the same problem. With that high protection and the quickness, the Shard Guard are hitting back and cutting them down very quickly, and the Shard Guard do take damage, and some of them do die, because they only have 20 protection, but they're hitting back so hard that the Lictors go down very, very quickly. And over here on the flank, these Sentinels just do not care. Nothing is getting through to them. So, the battle basically is the Urmorians beating futilely on the super, super tough Agarthan troops while being slowly massacred on all sides. Most of the Magma Children are destroyed, because Magma Children tend to do that. They just die as you go along. The Sentinels largely live. The infantry routes because this gang of Lictors gets around the flank with some skeletons, and they cut up quite a lot of the Shard Guard, and so the Shard Guard eventually rout as well. The Slow Boys just are not tough enough, and a bunch of the mages rout, and they take with them some of these Sentinels who were on Guard Commander. But in the process, the Lictors are caught and destroyed by the Sentinels, and so the Sentinels and a few remaining Shard Guard basically clean things up. The Archbishop of Eldragate retreats, the last few surviving Lictors retreat, and all is well for Agartha, right? We look at that, see he lost 217 out of his 226 units, 9 survivors. That is 1 Archbishop of Eldragate and 8 Lictors, and they retreated somewhere else. Meanwhile, on Agartha's side, he lost a whole bunch of troops, including about 2/3 of his shard guards. Many of the others retreated. He only lost 2 sentinels, almost all of his magma children, about half his defenders of the hall, and his 1 oracle of the ancients. He didn't lose any of his earth readers or golem crafters, though, so that's good, right? Well, there was a second battle in Urmor. See, what happened here was Urmor sallied. That was this battle, on the same turn that Agartha had told his army to assault the fortress. So this battle happened first, the sally, and most of the army was wiped out. But in the process, they made the shard guards retreat, and the magma children were pretty much dead. And the heavy cavalry and the defenders of the halls and the light and heavy infantry largely retreated. And the sentinels, it turns out, were commanded by the Oracle of the Ancients. So when he attacked the fortress, all that was left was this. Yeah, a Pale One captain, a gang of golem crafters, and 3 earth readers attacked the capital of Urmor by themselves with no chaff. And while most of the army was dead, they did have these long-dead archers on the walls, and a few soulless, with a Mound King. And they also had Peaceful Rot Friend, the Demi-Lich, who is the god of Urmor, and he has a ton of magic paths. He's quickened. He only has 14 hit points, but he is invulnerable 30, and he regenerates. And more importantly, he casts Blade Wind. So, that happens. Golem crafters are squishy mages. They don't have any defense. So because his infantry were wiped out and there's no chaff, the golem crafters are immediately targeted. And they get annihilated. Just mown down. Until they start to run. And so a couple of them get away, basically. This guy has fatigued himself out, and so he's going to die. Unless he's very, 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 very lucky. He's not that lucky. Actually, he is kind of that lucky. The end, nope, there he goes. So, yeah. That happened. That was 9 mages dead for nothing. Just hard to predict. That was a rough one to watch. Moral of the story, if you have a big, powerful mage who's leading an extremely important cadre of sacred troops, keep him in the back or in the middle. Do not... I mean, it's when you put one guy in the middle of a blob of infantry, it's a little bit difficult to predict where he's going to go when the game actually tries to put things down on the map, but at least put him towards the back of the squadron. That was a very minor mistake, but it just so happened that everything lined up in exactly the wrong way, and it really, really hurt. Because if that Oracle of the Ancients had lived, then I would wager to bet there would have been 26 Sentinels on the field when he attacked the fort, and that would have helped, like, a lot. Also, in Solaria went AI a turn or two ago. I didn't really notice. And this turn, the forces of Pythium overran the Solarian capital and claimed it for themselves. So this is not many mages, actually. 1 Archtheurg, 2 Theurgs, and 13 Theurg Communicants for communioning. And then just a big army of random guys, mainly Principes, 158 Principes. That's a lot of infantry power. And they just stormed into the fortress and took it over. Other battles. We conquered Ban Kish with our Phlegran army in enemy territory. Nazca actually took Nazca back from Ashdod. Ashdod's army has moved somewhere, and I don't see them. I don't know exactly where they are. We reconquered Ablak with our little force there. We bounced a scout off their fortress to see what was there. It was just province defense. They didn't have anything patrolling because their whole army moved out. And we lost Dunster to a group of mercenaries hired by Nazca, who came in and wiped out our province defense. Unexpected events, we got a bag of winds and a lab in Abi. That is huge. That is a crazy huge event. I mean, we just got a lab here for no reason. This isn't honestly a good place for a fort, especially because it has 3 death scales for some reason. So there's some kind of hidden site there. But, I mean, it's a free lab. I may as well move somebody there and build a fort. So I'm just going to recruit scouts and build a fort there. Kick up the province defense to 11. And, like, it's a fort. It's a lab. Might as well. I have money, because I'm not spending money very quickly, since I'm Phlegra, so yeah, go for it. And, of course, we got a bag of winds, which is a hugely valuable and expensive item, as well as a few random gems. In the Holy See, we got an Earth Gem. That Misfortune 3, rather, is really working out for me here. And in Digmore, we got Misfortune 3, which doesn't matter, because we already have that. In Cerny, it looks like knights are about to come in and attack me. Same event that happened to the Yellow Mountains over here. It's bad, but it's not, like, whatever. If I lose Cerny again, it's right on the border with Shinuyama. I don't really care about it all that much. It's not a fort, and I'll take it back when my army rolls through on its way into Shinuyama. So, speaking of armies, let's talk about what I'm doing. 1 second. Okay. So, Shinuyama is besieging Phlegra. They're breaking down my walls at a rate of less than 100 per turn. So, it's not actually very worrisome, but I would like to eliminate this army. Now, I have quite a bit of chaff in this fortress, actually. Or at least a reasonable amount. I have 11 Gigantes. I have 2 Tyrants, albeit only half-geared. I have about 110 infantry. So, I'm in a pretty decent spot, to be honest. Also, back here, and I feel like he may not have noticed this. My Gigantes have a map move of 18. Now, if they take Helots with them, that cuts it down to 14, and they can't reach Phlegra from Delca, because they have to move 2 provinces, and that's too far. So, like these guys, they cannot reach Phlegra. They can, however, reach Phlegra if they only take other Gigantes with them, and I have 10 more Gigantes here. So, given that, what I'm doing is, the Communion is not coming, or rather the Communion is moving right there, to Ablak. I've got the defense up to 16 down here. I'm also going to put the defense up to 16 over here. I'm going to put the defense up to 16 here. And I'm going to put the defense up to 16 here. That's all the provinces he can move to, so no matter where he moves, he's going to hit significant province defense. Hopefully, 16 is enough to make him spend gems. I may actually, I'm going to bump it up even further. I'm going to bump it up to 21. I have the money. This is a profligate waste of money, but if spending a few hundred gold can force him to waste his gems, then it's good. All these troops are going to break the siege. I don't have many Communion slaves here. I only have 3, but that will still kick him up to Air 3, Calicolon. So Calicolon will break the siege with these 3, and he will summon air elementals. All these guys are summoning fire elementals. He's summoning a water elemental. Pallas, Electos, Hippolytus, and Astarius, none of whom I've renamed, although I should, are going to light themselves on fire and make themselves tough to kill and then just charge in. And what I hope will happen and what I believe will happen is my troops, my thugs, my Gigante tyrants will, with their reinvigoration, being fatigue neutral and having the fire shield and the iron skin and the berserk, will be able to carve their way through his troops. Because if we look at his troops, So he's got the Obakemono, and the Obakemono actually do a lot of damage. He's also got the Daibakemono, and the Daibakemono do almost as much damage. But my tyrants have a lot of HP, and they have a lot of protection. And I think I'm sort of betting the farm on the idea that they will be able to kill the Daibakemono off and the Obakemono off much, much more quickly than they die. And if that's so, and I think it is so, in particular when they have Helix behind them, because I mean they do have a fairly significant number of Helix behind them. I may actually, let me see, this guy, Phoenix Power, instead of a Fire Elemental, immediately cast Flaming Arrows, and then summon a Fire Elemental. Okay, so that will help as well, because that will mean my 80-some archers are all firing Flaming Arrows. And my guys are pretty much immune to Flaming Arrows, and his guys are not. The only thing that's a little bit of a bummer here is that I don't yet have Temper Flesh, which would have the damage I take. But, you know, oh well, it is what it is. It's possible, because when I cast Iron Skin, my armor goes up to about, when I cast Iron Skin and have my Berserk and Earth Power all active, protection is about 31, all told. 31 protection is really high. His Daibakemono and Obakemono actually do inflict that much damage. So what I'm gonna want is, here, let me grab all the troops through here. I do need defense against the Howl as well. So I've got archers here. I've got 4 tyrants. See, I've got 4 tyrants and they're surrounded by Gigantes. And my Gigantes are way, way tougher than his Daibakemonos. And they actually don't do quite as much damage when they hit, which is funny. But it's because their weapons don't have as much of a damage bonus. Because the swords that the Daibakemono use have like +8 damage, whereas spears only have like +3. But Gigante warriors are very, very tough, and when they berserk, their attack skill and protection goes up. Anyway, Gigante warriors can take Daibakemonos in numbers, and I have 20 Gigantes plus 4 tyrants on the front lines. My tyrants all do massive damage when they hit, plus area of effect fire damage, which won't hurt other Daibakemono very much, but will hurt Obakemono quite a lot. Electos does not have a weapon at the moment, which is a little bit of a bummer. I don't have a weapon to give him. I mean, I could give him a Just Man's Cross, but that won't help. I might give him Pronos' weapon. I might give him the Frost Brand. Yeah. It won't help him against the undead, but his weapon isn't the main thing against the undead. The main thing against the undead is the Fire Shield. So yeah, let's do that. I forged him a hat, just a random hat that I could afford to forge that gives him head protection, and Boots of the Messenger. Palas has also got an ice helmet and a Girdle of Might. So they're all hitting pretty damn hard. And the small area cold will on average hurt Daibakemono a little bit. The small area fire, the flame eruption, usually won't, I don't think, because it's 8 damage, armor piercing. The Daibakemono have how much armor again? The Daibakemono have very significant amounts of armor. Yeah, they have protection 17. So, on average, the flame eruption won't hurt Daibakemono. Against Obakemono, it will do damage, because their protection will be down to 5 or 6. So my goal actually is that the Gigantes, because he only has, how many Daibakemono does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, well, I can just count. I can just look at the, not the unit overview. I can just look at the battle report. He's got 52 Daibakemono and 25 Obakemono. especially if he hits my infantry first and gets tangled up in them, which he probably will. I think I can take it. I really think I can. Probably what I'll do is I'll move... Nope. Move these guys back slightly so that the infantry definitely hits before they do. Move the archers back. Move the mages back. I need these guys up right behind the tyrants. Definitely move the Cyclops back, because I do not want the Cyclops locked in melee first thing. Yeah, you up there. Where's my other... Where are you? Okay. Great. So you're going to Phoenix Power, Fire Elementals, Earth Power, and Iron Skin. In order to avoid being murdered by wolves. Actually, you may want to Phoenix Power and then Iron Skin first. I think that's probably wise. Summon a couple of Fire Elementals. And then... yeah, then Earth Power just to get your fatigue back more quickly. Yeah, this guy's only Fire 2, so he's going to spend a lot of fatigue summoning Fire Elementals. Yeah, that'll be fine. But so these guys are going to spend 3 turns buffing. On the turn they drop their Fire Shield, these guys will drop their Fire Elementals just slightly afterwards. The Fire Elementals won't hurt the Gigantes much, if at all, because the Gigantes are all fire resistant. And so having the Fire Elementals mix in with the Gigantes will actually help. I also do have the one guy summoning Air Elementals. And by summoning Air Elementals, they'll be full size. So that Air Elemental will be able to trample, which will help kind of derange the enemy formations and slow them down. Meantime, these troops are going to move here, this Communion. Actually, no, they're not, because this Communion couldn't stop them anyway. So instead, we're just going to let the province defense waste gems. If these guys move away, basically if they double back or if they move down here or somewhere, we're just going to waste their gems and wear down the Obakemonos until we can chase them down effectively. Meantime, we are still recruiting more mages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, instead of a slave here, we should recruit a Trophimos Oppressor. Over here, I'm recruiting more Shamans. Since I have reached Conjuration level 5, I can now cast Howl in combat. I was talking about Poison Ward when I brought these gems in, but honestly, Howl would probably be better. My infantry and my mages are not immune to poison, that's true. But my Gigantes are. Well, the problem is, if he casts Foul Vapors, all of my Trophimos Oppressors will die. And that I really, really don't want to happen, because they're valuable. So yeah, I'll drop Poison Ward, I won't Howl. Although if the Howl goes off unopposed, my Trophimos Oppressors probably still die. So most likely what I'll do is I'll have 2 of these guys set to be commanders. I only have 4 gems, unfortunately. So one of them will have to Howl, and one will cast Poison Ward, and I'll have to kind of clump my mages up. Probably he'll go first round Poison Resistant, the personal Poison Resistant spell, which will hit all the slaves. And then second round, he will cast Poison Ward and try to hit all of the Oppressors and Sages. I'll have to clump those guys up in the same place. Okay, it'll take a little bit of fiddling, but I think I can do it. So, that will be the Siege of Shinoyama. I'm just staying here besieging Shinoyama for now. It's possible that these Bakemono sorcerers... This fortress is all of a sudden a lot emptier than it looked like before. And there's not many places they could have gone. Either they were never there, which is possible if he forged a unit called an item called the Effigy of War. Or they moved. Now, if they moved, in order to move without my seeing them, they would have to be carrying one of a couple of specific items which are typically air magic that I don't think he really has access to, or be stealthy. And I'm positive he hasn't spent the gems to make like 20 commanders stealthy. So I don't really know where they went, because these are both Agarthan provinces. That's a Vanheim province. This is his province that seems to say there's only one unit there, which makes me suspicious, but I don't think Shinuyama can mass stealth their commanders. And this province is still barbarians. And I didn't see a battle there. So unless he tried to attack Agartha, I don't know what's going on there. But this province definitely does have 2 Bakemono sorcerers, and I don't know how many Bakemono sorcerers are in Shinuyama. Given that there were at least 4, actually, given that there were at least 5 in Lapintha. Yeah, this is probably 1 Bakemono sorcerer still here in Lapintha. But given that there were 5 in Lapintha, or 4 with 1 more just recruited, more likely, that makes me think there's probably 3 or 4 in here, as well as these 2. So that's a significant amount of Skelly spam. He might sally at me next turn. If he does, to be fully honest, that's fine. I would be okay with that. What I'm going to do about it is, I've got... Who are you? No. Who are you? Shapash? What I'm going to do about it is... don't be a communion slave. Be a communion master. And then... cast... I can't cast Wooden Warriors yet. Oh yeah, it was Conjuration level 5 I had. I was thinking I had Wooden Warriors. Nope, just be a communion slave then. You can cast both Master and Slave. I don't know what it does if you do that. I'm sure it's nothing terribly positive. You don't need a bodyguard. Why doesn't he join the ranks there? So, yeah, if they attack this army, they're gonna run into the problem of 3 tyrants. And I do have fairly significant elementals. Like, fairly significant elementals. I've got air elementals, more air elementals, fire elementals, flaming arrows. I think I can probably smash through it. If they come after me here, I feel like it's going to be a bad time for them. Now, Idiocrates is preaching right now because he has a big hit point penalty because he's in enemy dominion. So where is that Slab Brickjaw? That's Genocidicles. Where's Idiocrates? Oh, he's right there with Slab. Okay, so let's space these guys out a little more. Like that. So they'll be evenly spaced across the battlefield. And yeah, they'll go into combat, and with their fire shields active, they will burn through a lot of Skelespam. And I think they should be able to basically handle it. I mean, unless there's just a million Dai Bakemono, but the Dai Bakemono are going to have trouble probably getting through the churning mass. If he casts Howl and spams skeletons like it's going out of style, which is what he's done before, it's going to be a hot time. This guy is moving up. If the battle doesn't happen this turn, if I have to besiege the enemy fortress, that's when the nature gems will come into it. And that's also when I will send these guys straight through the breach. And ain't stopping for nothing. Just them and fire elementals charging through. Actually, they'll charge through the gate. The fire elementals will go through the freaking wall, because the fire elementals are ethereal. So, who cares? So, that's going to be the turn. Over here, I am forging an owl quill per turn. I've given him my hammer. And so, I do have 5 air gem income per turn, so he's using 3 of them per turn to forge air quills. And he can keep that up for a while. I'm attacking the Steppe of Wild Horses. I actually don't remember if I talked about this yet. These guys are attacking rear. These guys are in different places, so I can't combine these squadrons, sadly. Pronos. Sorry, I got a sore throat. Pronos has cured his disease. Thank goodness. He still has lost an arm, and he has a never healing wound, but he's going to go into combat. He's going to regenerate his hit points. He is going to be good. He's going to be fine. Nothing there can very seriously hurt him. If that fire wizard tries to summon fire elementals, Pronos will laugh because Pronos is highly fire resistant. And with his reinvigoration and recuperation and regeneration, he's going to be okay. He will be fatigue negative because he only has reinvigoration 2. Excuse me, but whatever. It'll be fine. And troop-wise, I have enough troops to crush them. I've also got my Battle Communion that will be Thunder Striking. I've got Earth Power, Mist Form, and Iron Skin going down on my slaves, and then I'll be throwing Acid Rain and Thunder Strikes like they're going out of style. Should burn through them pretty quickly. And that is going to be that. Hulk Smash and these 2 slaves are actually searching for magic sites here just to see if I can find anything. There is a great gold mine, which is really cool. And after that, Hulk Smash will be... I may be forging more nature things with him, or actually, I'm going to save up my nature gems because I want to see. I want to see if I can get a hold of Mother Oak, because the only other person who has like widespread nature magic in their nation is Shinuyama, and Shinuyama is on the way out. Certainly they don't have the time and energy to spare to put up Mother Oak with somebody. Their pretender god is probably in here, but they've been spending a lot of nature gems. So I feel like I've got good odds. I feel like I have good odds. And I would love to take Mount Shinuyama. I want all of those gems. All of those gems are delicious to me. Ah, gems. Gems, I love you so much. I need you so much. Why do I have so few of you? I'm also forging another skull staff with leprosy back here to give to a tyrant at some point. I haven't gotten a death to tyrant except for Pallas back here in a little bit. But I have a couple floating around. Pallas is one, Slab Brickjaw is one, and Genocidicles is one. So I've got some death to flying around that I can give staffs to make death 3, to do fun, cool death things. So, thank you all so much for watching. That's the turn, and next turn, in turn 33, we will see how this situation went, and we'll also see what's going on down Ermor way. This fort is still breached because it's still under siege, but Agartha is going to have to drag in more troops to take it on. Ermor's troops probably retreated to Chibia and will be coming back, but I don't see how Ermor wins this. Ermor does have a solid fortress in Grain Coast, but Celeria is about to march down and take that over. Celeria has already kicked them out of Behemoth's Rest. Celeria is big and a little bit scary. It's nice to see that has a solid line against them right here, or Uruk rather. And Tianxi has expressed concern about them, but Tianxi is focused on fighting Ashdod. Tianxi also hasn't talked to me in a couple of turns, so that's a little bit worrisome. They are besieging the Royal Green, and they're doing so with their god, Jackie Chan the Earth Serpent. So they're clearly aiming to take the Royal Green. Ah, boy. Boy. There's 3 choices after there's 4 choices after I take out Shinuyama, and I'm not sure which way I'm going to jump. I could either go to war with Agartha, which would be dangerous but potentially profitable. His sacreds, as tough as they are vulnerable to my evocations, because they don't have fire and shock resistance, and you can't resist acid damage. So his slow, tough, high HP, tanky sacreds will draw Thunderstrikes and Acid Rains, and dropping Thunderstrikes and Acid Rains on them would do a lot of damage. Well, not Acid Rains, because their raw protection is just high enough that Acid Rain would hardly hurt them. But Thunderstrikes would be wiping them out. So I could fight Agartha. I could probably get at least limited support from Abyssia in doing that. And possibly Vanheim. I could eat Vanheim. Vanheim is very small, and devouring them would be profitable. Now, they are elves, and going to war with elves is always a little bit fraught. You will always take damage doing it, but may well be worth it because I could probably take them almost for free. I could go to war with Tianxi. Going to war with Tianxi would also be fairly dangerous. They're pretty well fortified. They're pretty large. They do have the Earth Serpent, who will be hard to kill. Might be worth it. Certainly it would free me up from this situation. That said, I kind of like having an ally, so if they're still going to be friendly, that would be great. And we will keep that up. I have a non-aggression pact with them, so we're not going to fight soon. I could go to war with Ashdod with the help of Tianqi. That would have the benefit of pruning someone who is probably one of the scariest competitors back, and it would be nice. That said, I'm honestly not sure if I could win that. Like I said, for one thing, I don't know where his giant stack is. He could have moved to these two provinces that I don't have vision on. In fact, I don't think he had that one last turn. So he might have done that and be going for this throne in the Grey Forest. If we look at statistics... Yeah, that's not a claimed throne. We don't know which one that is. But that's a possibility. So Ashdod, Agartha, Tianqi, Vanheim, or of course Pythium. I could go to war with Pythium. Like I've said before, I think I have stronger communions than Pythium does. I already have a fairly strong communion setup in place, a couple turns of recruitment, and I could confidently siege down Gold Crags. He does have Theurgs and Theurg Acolytes in place, but his communions are a lot more vulnerable than mine are. And since I've hit Conjuration 5, I could save up for a few turns and overwhelm his fortress with fire elementals very, very easily. Or I could overwhelm his fortress with thunder strikes, also fairly easily, probably. That said, I'm not as worried about Pythium as I am about some others. And maybe that's me underestimating Pythium. It's possible, because he has a lot of Theurg communicants. And Theurg Acolytes. So he has some big, beefy, thick communion power. More than I do, that's for sure. But I think my communions are better. I think my troops, while not better, are more numerous, and I don't think he has a real good answer to my tyrants. Well, I take it back. He's an astral communion nation, so he has Soul Slay. And Soul Slay is an excellent answer to super combatants, because it's you make a magic resistance roll or you fall over dead. So if I were to go up against Pythium, what I would do is I would be equipping my Phlegran Tyrants with like lead shields that increase magic resistance by 4 and stuff like that. But I think I could jack them up enough that they wouldn't be too terribly at risk. In any case, this turn's gone on pretty long. That's a lot of discussion going on. So we'll leave the long-term strategery for another time. I'll see you in turn 33. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is turn 33 of not Once More Into the Breach, what am I saying? Of Honor. And there has been some chaos. Let's take it from the top. So we researched Alteration to level 4. Alteration level 5 is next. Found 2 magic sites in Oak Beach, the Thorn Maze and the Enchanted Tower. Also found a Banefire Braziers in Digmore. So that is Nature, Earth, and Death and Fire income. So great turn for gem income. There was a battle in Shinuyama. So the enemy sallied in addition to moving in 2 Bakemono Sorcerers to attack us. And they have 1 Dai Bakemono up front, a couple of wounded Onis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Ubas with gems. Quite a few gems overall, actually. A big pile of Dai Bakemono down here, a big pile of O Bakemono up here, and 1, 2, 3 Bakemono Sorcerers, all with a whole bunch of death gems. One of them has a Flask of Holy Water and an Amulet of Resilience, one has a Skull Staff, and one has a Girdle of Might and a Flask of Holy Water. So they, like me, have been doing a lot of forging, which is, appropriate for this point when their capital is besieged. On the other side, I have my mighty army, infantry lined up front and back, other groups of infantry and archers scattered around to defend me from howls. Up front, I have 3, count them, 3 Phlegran Tyrants, all geared. Unfortunately, Idiocrates is suffering the Dominion penalty to both his strength and his hit points. and nothing else. He does have the profit bonus to his attack and defense. So, there's that. But I've got 3 heavily geared Tyrant Thugs up front, and it is the Battle of the Magecraft. I have a much larger army, but my infantry are much shittier. And I also have, in terms of numbers of mages casting, it's actually fairly even. I have a Trophimos Oppressor there. I have 5 Trophimos Oppressors and 2 Sages, so 7 total, plus my 3 Thugs. He has his 3 Bakemono Sorcerers and his 5 Ubas, so 8 total. So, at the start, everybody starts casting buffs except his Ubas. One of his Ubas just outright summons a Water Elemental, which is what I expected would happen. He casts Rain on me, and now a lot more elementals are about to start coming out. We've thrown buffs, arrows are flying. I'm about to cast Thunderstrike, and he is throwing Shadow Blasts. So Shadow Blast, that means he has Evocation 5 as well as Alteration and Conjuration 5. Shadow Blast is an extremely powerful magic resistance negates evocation that does a whole bunch of damage. It's fortunate that I had some of my defensive buffs up. It can also paralyze people, so they can neither move nor defend themselves. Back here, I am summoning air elementals. It looks like I forgot to turn this guy off of summon lesser air elemental, but I've got a full-size one there. I've got fire elementals going off here. 1 air elemental has already jumped into the middle of the enemy over here and is beginning to trample them. 1 has jumped back here, actually 2 of them, and this was clutch, because this distracted his Dai Bakemono and kept them from advancing, along with a couple of his Earth Elementals and his Water Elemental back here. So, Flaming Arrows, the O-Bakemonos are getting absolutely gutted. More Shadow Blasts coming in, wreaking utter havoc on my infantry, to be fully honest. My blocked up infantry like this are prime Shadow Blast targets, and they are taking huge damage from it. Shadow Blast is a very powerful spell. He's using a lot of death gems doing this, though, so I'm okay with it. Over here, my Gigante Warrior has been put to sleep, and Genocidicles has charged headlong into the middle of the Dai Bakemono and the Earth Elementals, and unfortunately, since he is size 5 and Earth Elementals are size 6, they're trampling him. Also, he was unlucky enough to get a chest wound round 1. So poor Genocidicles is getting pushed around. Meanwhile, up north, Slab Brickjaw is leading the march of the Fire Elementals directly towards this hapless Uba. Genocidicles is just getting the crap kicked out of him right at the moment. He's racking up a few kills, but he's also just being trampled to death and losing hit points very, very quickly. The trampling, unfortunately, is just something that he can't stop. So his buddy Idiocrates the Prophet rushes bravely up to try and save him. Meanwhile, in the north, Slab Brickjaw has engaged a huge pile of the undead next to a fire elemental. Idiocrates is now badly injured, and Genocidicles is dead. He's been trampled to death. However, his sacrifice, and Idiocrates is already halfway there, living on a prayer. His sacrifice has held the Earth Elementals off for long enough, and my Thunderstrikes are now starting to come down into the middle of the enemy. The enemy are in bad shape. They don't really have a good way to stop my Fire Elementals right now. Unfortunately, Idiocrates is still getting trampled to death, and he doesn't have a good way to stop that either. Every time that thing tramples him, it does damage. Every time it shoves him out of the way, it's hurting him because his defense is super, super low. And there he goes. Idiocrates is also killed. Slab Brickjaw here, completely surrounded by the undead, and he doesn't really care. More Thunderstrikes coming down, and the Dai Bakemono are retreating. The undead are not retreating, but the Dai Bakemono have had enough. The Ubas were fatigued out, but are coming back. Getting ready to start casting something. They're throwing a couple of cold bolts. Took out one of my fire elementals right there. Hit this Gigante Warrior and froze him. And my archers are now starting to go into melee because they've run out of ammunition. So it's been a very, very hard battle on both sides so far. The Ubas are in serious, serious danger because as my archers and a few, looks like, phantasmal wolves are pouring in, the Ubas don't really have anywhere to go. They are routed. These two Gigante Warriors and these Fire Elementals are charging in now. Looks like one of the Bakemono sorcerers has fled. A second is about to flee, but this one is fatigued out and currently being stabbed to death, so he's about to go down. And that is, as they say, the whole ball game. So, overall, in Shinuyama, we killed 1 Bakemono sorcerer and 3 Ubas. We also killed their Aoni, most of their Dai Bakemonos, all of their Obakemonos. Overall, they have remaining 14 units. 2 Bakemono sorcerers, 3 Ubas, and 9 Dai Bakemonos, or 8 Dai Bakemonos and 1 Ko-Oni. I got back all of my items, which is nice, so I didn't lose those. I did, however, lose 2 Phlegra Tyrants, and that is a big blow. They're slow to recruit, they're capital only. I knew they were going to die, so I'm prepared for it. I also lost about 78 infantry that I don't care about, infantry and archers. However, a whole bunch of them also retreated, which is sort of a pain. 79 units all told, 55 made it back to friendly territory. Overall, I killed 4 mages. One of them was actually more expensive and more valuable than my Phlegra Tyrants, but not capital only. In terms of casualties, I would have to say the honors were close to even, but leaning towards Shinuyama's favor. Killing 2 slow-to-recruit capital-onlys is a significant coup. Killing 1 slow-to-recruit non-capital-only, not so much, and killing 3 standard recruitment everywhere mages, it's useful. It's good. I killed 4 mages and he only killed 2, but my 2 mages, even just in terms of gold cost, my 2 mages were over 600. His 1 mage, that's about 400. I killed more gold worth of mages, but overall I would say honors were about even, except I got all my items back, plus I stole his skull staff. So he lost the skull staff outright, and I gained a skull staff and didn't lose any items. So there's that. Battle in Steppe of Wild Horses. This was me attacking the throne. And so I've got my army lined up here. I've got my little communion set up. On the other side, we've got the wizards. Everybody's casting buffs. The cavalry come charging in just in time to start eating some thunderstrikes. So the heavy cavalry eat the thunderstrikes. My heavy cavalry charge around the side and then are intercepted by elementals and wiped out very quickly. My thunderstrikes start slamming down in their rear lines as my infantry flood forward. My mages are casting earth buffs. A number of my infantry are already retreating. The enemy elementals meet me here, and copious blade wind basically wipes out everyone involved in the fighting. Pronos the Phlegra Tyrant, however, he still has not healed his afflictions, but he's regenerating. And he's regenerated up to his maximum HP, and he's not going down. He's susceptible to shock, but he's fire resistant, so these fire elementals are not hurting him, even as the infantry take to their heels. So he is very, very slowly stabbing these fire elementals to death. And then he charges over here to where these fatigued out wizards are standing, and goes to stab them as well. My wizards... my shackled mages only haven't routed because they're fatigued out, and there they go. Now they're starting to rout. Some of them made it off the field, but some of them also didn't in time. So, we won that one as well. I did lose all my cataphracts, a Gigante warrior, and a whole bunch of crap infantry, but once again, I don't care about crap infantry losses. All that matters is my tyrant actually regenerated, and none of my mages died. Other battles. There was a battle in Plouffe. Abyssia has attacked Ashdod, and he's done it with a Banelord thug, so he's summoning Banelords. So I don't know exactly how good Abyssia's research is, but he's kitted this Banelord out as a thug. He's given him winged shoes, bracers of protection, a vine shield, a mace of eruption, and a horror helmet. So he's got construction 4, I believe, but this indicates he probably doesn't have construction 6, or this would be a firebrand instead of a mace of eruption. Banelords are decent thugs, expensive in gems, but decent thugs. Especially because they have no encumbrance, so they have no fatigue. So, the Banelord appears to be flying. Yep, he lands here, starts punching people with his giant mace, the Vine Shield activates, and the Banelord is just gonna beat them to death with his Mace of Eruption. No contest here. A Rephyte commander cannot stop a Bane Lord. Yep, there we go. Okay. So that's nice. There was also a battle in Urmor. Urmor attacked Agartha again. A lot of battles this time. So, Urmor, big line of skeletons, 2 gangs of lictors, gang of skeletons back here, gang of soulless back here, and he's got just a ton of Archbishops of Eldregate. Now, Archbishops of Eldregate are reanimators, holy reanimators, so they can raise the dead, and they're useful in that sense, but I don't know, man. If I were him, I would have been spending my gems summoning more spectators, because they have Death 3. They're like useful mages. Or Dusk Elders. I mean, spectators and Dusk Elders are really, really good. And he's only got 2 total mages here? And I don't even... I'll check to see how many Archbishops of Eldregate, but like a lot of Archbishops of Eldregate. More than necessary. On the other side, we have a random assortment of Agarthan units, with a whole bunch of Golem Crafters standing in the front. I believe these guys don't actually technically have a commander, so I think they're just like fighting as province defense or something, because they're all just in a ball. Yeah, they're all just in a big old block. Interesting. And yeah, they're unscripted, so they're just moving forward. They are getting blessed because they're moving past the Golem Crafters, so there's that. And here come the Lictors. So, 2 flanking squads of Lictors. Charging forward. It looks like they're on attack rear, and it looks like they're going to get there. Did they rout, or what's happening? Why are they not attacking the mages? Oh, they picked the wrong targets. Oh, unlucky. Unlucky. If those Lictors had gone after the mages, man, this would have been over. Absolutely over. But they didn't. They went after the infantry instead. Like, these Lictors just standing back here. And then they go in to flank the infantry. Wow. Wow. Yeah, they can't kill these sentinels. They just cannot kill them. And now the Archbishops of Eldregate are going into combat? Why? I mean, they have Rods of Death, which are armor negating, but why? Why would this happen? This guy's the prophet. Okay. This Archbishop of Eldregate is trying to go into melee with these Golem Crafters, and he did kill one. Looks like he's killed 2. He's killed 3. He is on a rampage, and then he's shot to death. And the rest of them run away. So total. He lost an Archbishop and all his units, including all but 2 of his Lictors. He killed 3 Golem Crafters and the strict majority of Agartha's units, but less than half of the Sentinels, which are the ones that matter, and only 3 out of the Golem Crafters. I mean, he still has a whole bunch of Archbishops of Eldregate, that's true. He had 11, and he lost only 1, his prophet. He still has a Spectator, he still has a Dusk Elder. This is still not going to be an easy fight for Agartha, but I can't help but think at this point that Agartha's winning, which is nice. Now, there was a battle in Phlegra, because Shinoyama did not move away. I had thought that they might move away, and I had thought if they didn't, this army has a good shot at defeating them. Now, these guys are only half equipped. They don't have all the gear that I would like them to have. Astarius is closest. He has most of the gear that I would like him to have, and they don't have much magic support. They've got 1 Trophimos Sage with fire gems, a Trophimos Sage with water gems, and a Trophimos Oppressor with air gems. They've also got these 2 Elder Cyclops who are set up to summon fire elementals, but limited magic support. Against them, of course, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bakemono Sorcerers and an Uba. So, what's going to happen is, we're all going to buff up a little bit. The Uba's going to cast Howl. And once again, the Howl is going to ruin me, to be fully honest. I've got some elementals coming out, several fire elementals, a bunch of air elementals, or a couple of air elementals. The air elementals are going to fly over here. I think they fly over into the enemy rear lines, don't they? Got some lightning flying around. Wolves charging in all directions, but I don't get to the sorcerers quick enough. Yeah, my air elemental flies back here and tramples one of the Bakemono sorcerers, which is great. And then he tries to trample that one, but gets... Yeah, he gets 2 of them. That one air elemental killed 2 Bakemono sorcerers. Go air elemental. However, meanwhile, back here, my tyrants have all gotten caught up in Skelospam, which in a way is where they want to be. They're doing damage, but Astarius is being whittled down because mixed in with the skeletons are the Bakemonos, who hit very, very hard. So Astarius is being whittled down, Palas is being whittled down, Hippolytus has been whittled down the least because he is surrounded solely by skeletons, who can't hurt him very much. So as we move forward, we're throwing spells into port. We're throwing Blade Wind, which is going to help because it wipes out a lot of skeletons. But the Bakemono infantry are retreating. The Bakemono archers, however, are coming forward. And Bakemono archers are still very high damage in melee. So, we've basically won free. Palas is free. Astarius is mostly free. The wolves are kind of being dealt with back here, but the Bakemono archers are going to come in and wrap Hippolytus. And when they wrap him, they will start to do damage. So he's down to 57 health, and another wave of Skelospam is coming in. The Bakemono sorcerers, the ones who are still alive, have gotten over their problems. The one tyrant down there got wiped out on the way by a lucky Bakemono. And now Hippolytus is surrounded, taking damage. Palas is starting to take damage. Overall, it's not going terribly well. That fire elementals are not great against Bakemono. They're great against skeletons, but not Bakemono. So Hippolytus is down to 13 hit points, Palas is down to 7 hit points, and the Bakemono are just too much. Eventually, they wear him down. And the last tyrant goes. The rest of my troops had already routed off. So I lost. I did not manage to break free in Phlegra. This one was much more clearly against me. I lost 3 tyrants, I lost my shackled mage, I lost my Trophimos oppressor, and I lost one of my sages. I also lost most of my Gigantes, and a couple of my Helot warriors. I kept my Elder Cyclops, however, which was good. I did kill 2 of the Bakemono sorcerers, and I think I forced another one to retreat. I didn't manage to kill the Uba. I did kill most of the Bakemonos, O-Bakemonos, and the Kappa. Most of my troops retreated back into the fort. My shackled mage retreated to the caverns of Gannett. Let me view the battle one more time. I want to see what happened to that Uba. I'm not sure if she was still on the field at the end. Because there were 6. There were 6 Bakemono sorcerers. Okay, so they're all Horde of Skeletonsing. Yep, that's fine. Okay, here comes the air elemental, kills 1. Kills the second. Uba's still on the field. Yeah, she was still on the field. She and the other 4 are all still there. A bunch of the Bakemono infantry routed, which is good. But yeah. Okay. So, those 4 sorcerers and 1 Uba are still on the field. In Griffa, I took over a province with no resistance. In Ban Kish, he took over a province with no resistance from me. In Nazca, Ashdod moved back one of their big beefy stacks and took Nazca back. In Cerny, I was attacked by knights, as I expected I would be, and they won with no casualties. In Boat Eater, I found some pearls. Tamiglia lost some money. Shinuyama lost a little bit of money. Lost my scout in Gold Crags. I'm repairing the walls of Phlegra faster than they can be broken down, and I've breached the entrance to Shinuyama. So, here's the situation. I don't want to break out here, although I have Electos, and honestly, I don't remember. It's been a day or 2 since the last turn. I guess I didn't tell Electos to attack. Would have been nice to have him. Would have been really, really nice, but I don't know how he could possibly be here unless he just wasn't instructed to attack. So I guess he didn't get the memo to break the siege. Those troops, I think, could have made a difference, but whatever. It happened. It definitely happened. I could try to break the siege again. I have quite a lot of troops. I have a whole bunch of gigantes. I could try it. That said, I don't think one tyrant can bust through 4 Skelespammers and Howl when 3 tyrants failed to bust through 6 Skelespammers and Howl. I think the odds are more against me there. So, Electos is summoning a Hound of Twilight, which is a unique summon that I have, which is a giant multi-attack dog who's also a really good patroller, and fairly cheap. And Perseus is casting Fires from Afar onto the Shinoyaman army here. Now, the Shinoyaman troops, some of the Shinoyaman troops retreated, and I think they must have died when they did that, because if I look at the battle, it says there are about 20 left. And that lines up with what I see here, because they're in Daibakemono infantry, the rest of them retreated. They should have about 30 if the retreated hadn't died, but I think all their Obakemonos are gone. And I think probably about 40 of their Daibakemonos are gone, so I think it's just 10 or 15 Daibakemonos, an Uba, and 4 Bakemono sorcerers is all that's left here. They don't have much by way of infantry. So to be honest, I might be able to break out, but I'm okay. To be honest, if they want to stand here, I'm okay with letting them. Probably they're going to move out, and whichever way they move out, they're going to run into problems, because I have 21 province defense everywhere that they're going to have to cut through. They might not move, in which case I will hit them. I mean, I'll hit them with Fires from Afar no matter what happens. It'll go off in the magic phase before they can move. If they don't move, I'll crush them against my fortifications. Up here, I have 55 units who retreated, all in Gifa. That's fine, they can stay there, I don't care right now. This army is moving up to Dry Fields. Shinoyama does still have this fort and this army. Fairly significant army. If you'll see, the army in Bankish has 3 Bakemono sorcerers and 1 Uba. And if you'll recall, that Uba is set up to cast Howl, and the Bakemono sorcerers are set up to do their Bakemono sorcerer thing. They're equipped with gems to spam elementals, actually. So, that's fine. I don't intend to fight them. Up here, I've gotten my nature gems. So, I'm set up to storm the castle. I have many fewer gems than I had last time, but because of losing the battle in Shinoyama, there is much less by way of defense inside the castle. He only has 2 Bakemono sorcerers and 3 Ubas at the moment. He can howl, however, I can howl too, because I have that researched. So here's the plan. I've got my army set up. Slab Brickjaw is going to Iron Skin, Summon Earth Power, Fire Shield, Temper Flesh, so 4 turns total, and then attack into the fortress. These guys are all going to cast defensive buffs, summon 1 Fire Elemental, then spam Quickness as hard as they can, and hopefully those 3 guys spamming Quickness will hit both the Fire Elemental and Slab Brickjaw. Now, Slab being hit by Quickness, right now he has Encumbrance 4 and Reinvigoration 3. With Earth Power, he'll have Reinvigoration 7. Since his Encumbrance 4 will be firing off twice per round, he will be gaining 1 fatigue per round. I've equipped him with Gear of the Dead. So his magic resistance is very high, his defense is quite high, his protection is naturally really good and will get better. When he casts Iron Skin and Temper Flesh on himself, he'll be nearly invincible, much closer to invincible than any of my tyrants so far have been. Meluha is also going to cast Swarm after he casts Howl, because he does have 4 nature gems. My other guys just set up to cast useful spells. All of my troops are forward, because I don't really have to worry about being flanked. I want these archers to draw the fire of the enemy, and for that purpose I am actually going to put them into skirmish formation. And so what I'm aiming to happen is these guys are going to spam damage spells. All 4 of these guys. These 3 guys are going to drop their elementals, buff with quickness, and then spam damage spells. And Slab Brickjaw is going to buff himself, let those guys charge in first and die, and then he will charge in quickness buffed with the fire elementals, and they should be able to break through, especially because since I've counter-howled his howl that I anticipate will come, rather than a whole bunch of wolves harassing me constantly, what's going to happen is the edges of the map will be one constant seething wolf fight. So basically we're going to find out if 3 quickened fire elementals and 1 quickened Phlegra Tyrant plus 1 quickened Gigante Warrior can bust through, plus 2 quickened Gigante Warriors, sorry, can bust through 3 Bakemono Sorcerers worth of Skeleспam, and I think he can. I'm betting the farm on his ability to do so, at least when backed up by Thunder Strikes and Acid Rains. Down here, this communion is moving over to here. They also have a guy who will cast Howl. Having these Lizard Shamans is invaluable. They are so good. I am so glad that I have them. I'm going to stop recruiting Oppressors real quick and change back to recruiting Shackled Mages. Up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need at least 2 more. I need 2 more Shackled, and then I'll pump out a few Trophimos Oppressors. Meanwhile, this gentleman should search for magic sites. Eriadu is moving in his endless quest for magic sites. Nautis is moving. I am moving Hulk Smash over here to claim, yes, the Iron Throne. Just like I thought it would be. It's going to give me Iron Adepts, which will be fantastic. So I am going to lab this province. I'm going to fort this province. I'm going to do everything in this province. I was going to build a fort over here, but actually I'm not. I'm not going to do that just yet. First of all, Pronos, all you guys are going to search for magic sites. You were going to move away, but you're not. Pyrus, you, what I need you to do, you need to build a lab. We're going to build a lab here. We're going to build a fort here. We're going to start churning out adepts of the Iron Order. All these guys, I'm kind of recollecting my troops. Tianxi still isn't talking to me again, which I find worrisome, especially because he has his god right over here. Now, Abyssia is at war with Ashdod, which I like. And Abyssia has besieged Arcocephale here, so he's hit at least 2 provinces at once. And Tianxi hopefully will be going to war against Ashdod, so ideally, Ashdod will be kind of sandwiched between the 2 of them and split up. That would be nice. I talked to Vanheim. Vanheim and I have agreed not to break our non-aggression pact, for now, at least. Basically, I told him, look, I'm not scared of you and I would like you as a buffer state. And he didn't disagree with that. I hope it didn't offend him, but it's kind of true. Vanheim is small and it's a buffer state. That's what it is at this point. Celeria has, like, a lot of troops. Like, a lot of troops. Like, around 7... Yeah, probably around 600-700 troops. That's the majority of their army, but it's not all of their army. They do still have about 50 units here, and various other units elsewhere. Vanheim has built a fort here that's facing off against Pythium, and he said he's probably going to go, quote, north. Not sure what that means. Might mean he's going to war against Abyssia in support of Ashdod, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that situation. However, I kind of have to focus on my situation right now. This is now the center of Shinuyaman power. Now that I have Howl and full-size elementals, the balance of power is shifting. However, it has now been conclusively proven to me that my tyrants are not tough enough. Temper Flesh will help. Temper Flesh will basically double their resilience against being stabbed, but still, I need Construction 6 in order to boost their toughness enough to get them to keep them relevant on the battlefield. I mean, they're relevant in the sense that they're scoring a lot of kills, but they're also dying. Like, I lost 5 this turn of the 7 I had, which leaves me with only 2. And that's bad, because I need oomph. I need muscle. I need power. And the tyrants were one big way I was getting it. So, well, I still have 3, but I definitely need to upgrade their gear if I'm going to keep using them in this frontline role. That being so, we're going to storm Shinuyama. I anticipate victory, unless he pulls something else out of the hat that he didn't have last turn, or that he didn't show last turn, which is always possible. But unless he pulls something out of the hat, I anticipate we'll win. I've given a whole bunch of the excess items to Urbon and Coriolanus. They will not be participating in the storm, so they will not risk those items. He doesn't have anything in position to attack me, which is good. I should be able to take it. And Aristwaddle and his little force are moving up here. They will be able to either swing in to support Shinuyama if somehow I fail to storm, and either way, we'll be able to move through this Barbarian province and lay siege to Cormark as well and clean up these provinces over here. This is going to be an issue. That is a big army that is tough and scary and can do a lot of damage. I'm building up a whole bunch of Lizard Shamans over here. Also going to spam out more troops real quick. Yeah, actually it's going to be... We're going to spam out a whole bunch of archers mixed in with the infantry here. The archers are by far more efficient at doing damage. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of build up a little bit. Leprosy now. With alteration level 4, I reached Arouse Hunger, which is a nice little spell. But leprosy really needs to be searching for magic sites, specifically death sites. Like, I know there's a death site here. I forget if the Well of Pestilence is Death 2 or Death 3, but he's going to cast Dark Knowledge on Jintmark, and that'll find it, no matter which it is. These two guys are just going to research, because they're here at a lab. They might as well research. Like, I don't need them anywhere else right at the moment. Obarek will continue defending. I'm recruiting some units down here, which I don't really need to be doing at this point. Well, I'll get a couple turns of recruitment of Helix down here just for patrol purposes. I do have some Enkidu standing there eyeing me menacingly, which I'm not a huge fan of. And we'll kind of have to see where that goes. I'm getting my double recruitment in Marignan this turn, which is nice. And I'm still recruiting Trophimos Oppressors over here. I'm actually going to switch to Sages. They don't have the same communion power as Oppressors, but individually they're a little better. And having 2 levels in certain paths is very useful, especially to water would be nice. I've built up significant underwater... Well, no, let me take that back. I have not built up significant underwater forces. I have built up small and relatively weak underwater forces, but they might be strong enough underwater forces to take, like, Lake Purple. He has an Archtheurg down here for some reason. I didn't even notice that. Python, the god of Phasia, came back this turn, apparently, and he besieged Phasia because that's where he respawned for some reason, so... That's kind of hilarious. Ulm's capital is still under siege by Agartha, but he's retaking... The AI Ulm is putting up a little bit of a fight. So, yeah. We're just going to cast fires from afar on this army. If I'm lucky, if I'm super lucky, it will kill the Uba. If it kills the Uba, fantastic. I'll break the siege immediately. If it doesn't kill the Uba, it might kill a Bakemono Sorcerer. I mean, odds are low, because Bakemono Sorcerers are giants with high health. But it might. Yeah, 26 hit points. I would have, and 11 protection against 15 armor piercing damage. I would have to roll very high, and they would have to roll very low on damage to kill a Bakemono Sorcerer. Same is true of Dai Bakemonos. It will do an average of like 6 or 7 damage to them. But if it hits the Uba, she's very likely to die, because it's 15 AP damage versus a protection 0, 9 hit points. And at the end of this battle, there were not many left. If you will recall, actually, let's just look at the report. Yeah, at most, there's about 30 of them left. So, odds of one of the flame bolts hitting the Uba. Not terrible, not great, but not terrible. Worth spending the gems on at the moment, since I'm sort of in a holding pattern. We'll get the Hound of Twilight, that will help a little bit. And we'll move our army over here into threatening position to force them to do something. Our other option here would be to forge some equipment to try and give to Sextus the Stalker, but actually, to be honest, assuming we win in Shinuyama, which we should, which I think we should. I've been wrong about this kind of thing before. I've clearly overestimated the ability of my Tyrants, which, fair enough. In single-player testing, they performed better than this, but to be fair, in single-player testing, I can kind of arrange situations to be the way I want them. In any case, they're doing alright. They've scored a ton of kills. They're just not, like, surviving as well as I need them to. So I need to start... What I need to do is I need to get up to Construction 6, and I need to forge them serious protective gear. I need to get Nature 2 mages to forge them Vine Shields. That alone would kick their survivability up quite a bit. And I need to get them, like, actual defensive gear that actively defends them, as opposed to relying entirely on protection and being beefy. So I'm just not doing it right, basically, is what I'm saying. But in any case, I should win this. I think I have the power to do it with Howl on my side, and 3 elementals, and Thunderstrike support, and Acid Rain support. I think I can handle it. But we'll see. And of course, we will see what they do as well. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you in turn 34.